Hey, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Peace Podcast. This is season 3, episode 2. Just give me inventory for my freedom, whatever that looks like. And this one actually came to me when I was working out because I have recently started working out in the nighttime hours. I used to be a right after work girl, and my commute has made that not so possible. And so I want to be an early morning girl, but everyone else is sleeping, and that's really when I like to work out. And so I have to do it at nighttime. And so when I was in my room doing that workout at nighttime, I was doing some stretches and an ab workout, and the space was confining me. And I just thought to myself, well, why is this space making me feel more stressed about my workout than actually free from the stress of the day, which is usually why I do the workouts in the first place? And one of the things that I noticed is that I didn't have the freedom to move the way that I needed to move. And because I didn't have that freedom to move the way that I needed to move, the workout was actually stressing me out because I was like, I need more space. I need the ability to be able to move and do these workouts freely without feeling like I'm constrained by the environment. And then I started thinking, well, how can I make this so? What do I need to move? Where do I need to do the workout so that this isn't, a pain point for me? And it made me think about my word of the year and that freedom journey that I told you guys that I was on. And I thought, well, it's really easy to create freedom in this space. I could move my bed over. I could change the way that my space is set up so that I could be free from that. And isn't that true when we're experiencing things that are constraining us in the physical world? Like when we're thinking, well, I don't feel free to say the things that I need to say, or I don't feel free to be this full version of me, or I feel constrained by the profession that I'm in, or I feel constrained by the family that I'm a part of. Instead of taking inventory, we just accept that we're a victim of our circumstance. And so in that workout, I could have just accepted that I was a victim of the fact that I have to work out at a certain time and I have to do it in my room, and that there just isn't enough space for me to do it. So make modifications to the workout that don't really feel like they're stress relief, because I feel stressed by the fact that my workout requires me to be constrained. So my natural reaction could have been to say, well, I'm constrained by my circumstances, so I have to just deal with it. Instead of just flipping the switch and saying, you know what? I'm not constrained by my environment. I just need to figure out how to make changes to that environment. And taking the inventory of where you feel constrained will 100% give you the blueprint for how you can create the freedom that you really want. And so when you think about freedom, and I think everybody has a feeling that they want to be free. They want to live freely. They want to be 100% who they are. They want to be able to voice themselves and be themselves and live as themselves without feeling like they're constrained by whatever in their environment is inhibiting them from doing that. The first thing that you have to ask yourself is, what do you need to be free from? So, in the case of the workout, I needed to be free from that piece of furniture being in my way. So, the best option was to move the furniture. But when we're thinking about ourselves as humans working around this world, sometimes we don't even know what it is that we need to be free from. Do you need to be freed from that relationship? Do you need to be freed from your pride or your need to control everything to make that relationship work? Is it an internal freedom that you've placed some constraints on yourself by limiting yourself to what you feel like you need to be doing as opposed to what you could be doing in the space? Or is it an external circumstance, like I need to be freed from this title that I hold in my family system. I need to be freed from the stress that this job provides me, and I need to look for a new space. Whatever it is that you need to be freed from, it will be a pain point for you. So, you know that when I share these things with you, I always share what it is that I feel like I need to be doing in that same space. And so there was a reason that the word freedom landed on me, and it's because I feel like I'm a yes girl. Like, I really value my friendships. So if my friends ask me to do pretty much anything, I'm going to say yes. And there are times where I hold myself to that yes, even when I know it isn't the best thing for me. Something as simple as taking a walk with one of my friends this past week. I had said yes to it, and then I was feeling under the weather. And I battled with that conversation with her to tell her that I had to cancel on her for literally hours instead of just saying, I'm not really feeling my best today. It's really cold outside. It was like 28 degrees that day. And I don't feel like it's going to be the best thing for me to go on this walk with you. But I ended up doing it because I know that my yes would have come with some contempt and resentment because I didn't really feel well. And it ended up being that we had a phone call, and that phone call was just as beautiful as the walk would have been without the movement. And I was able to still hold true to what I needed to make myself healthy physically while also still having that connection with her. Did she have any reaction to me saying, I really can't go for that walk today? No. But I replayed that reaction in my head a million times because I like to be true to my word. And I like to, if I give you my word, stay with what I said in the first place. And sometimes my people pleasing will take over. And even though my social battery might be low, I'll still do the thing, and then I'll regret it later. And the time that we spent together really wasn't as good as it could have been because I really wasn't in my yes phase. Like I should have just said no or canceled. And probably more often than not, that's my thing. So if my girls out there who say yes in the moment, and then when the time comes to actually do the thing are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to cancel this. If you're one of those people, I know that sometimes you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone because you don't really have a good reason to not want to do the thing. You just don't feel like getting dressed or whatever it is, and oftentimes you go do the thing and you feel better. I'm not talking about those moments though. I'm talking about the moments where you're saying yes and you will not go to the no because you feel like that person's going to have this negative reaction to you. I'm also one of those people who place so much perfectionism on myself. So I want to do everything to the 100% that it can be done instead of accepting that my human experience is that I can't do everything to its 100% because there's only 100% of me to do the things. And also at the same time, there are expectations that I've placed on other people that I need to free myself from because oftentimes when I go into the spaces where I'm hoping that those expectations will be fulfilled, I'm let down and disappointed. And so there's some other things that are in there, like body image concerns, freeing myself from, the societal standard of what beauty looks like and having to be, waif thin or super duper strong with all the muscles protruding out in order to be an a representation of beauty and just accepting who I am. But what did I do? I sat with who I am and who I've been and who I wanted to be. And I said, these are things that I want to be free from. I no longer want to live in the box or in the constraints of all of these things that I've placed on myself or have allowed other people to place on me. And I want to be free to say the thing that is actually my opinion without feeling like there's going to be backlash, to say no if no is my actual answer, to do the things that are actually of me, that I was designed to be and do, instead of always feeling like I have this external picture of what perfectionism in that realm looks like and trying to meet that criteria in order to be the thing, whatever that title is. And so the first thing I had to do is sit with my pain. So if you're really taking inventory of yourself, which is one of my big methods to trying to figure out what's going on inside of you have to sit with your pain. And the only way that you can sit with your pain is to experience that pain. If you feel a pain point throughout the day, maybe you can't sit with that pain at that specific time, but you certainly can jot it down in the notes of your phone or on a sticky note and sit with it later. It's not until you start to realize what hurts you, what frustrates you, what makes you feel any sort of um, backlash or any sort of, you know, expectation of backlash, that you'll start to realize the things that you're using to constrain yourself. And so they're going to be pain points. It hurts me that I don't have, a really good relationship with this person. It hurts me that I've put myself in a relationship with somebody that I know is not for me. It hurts me that at my job, I'm, feeling like I'm worth more and I can do more, but I'm not being given the opportunity to do that. Those are all pain points. So when you sit with that pain, you'll really be able to determine what is it that you're feeling, right? Like first you have to determine what is it that I'm feeling. Once you get to the point where you determine that that thing is making you feel this way, and when you're in this space, whether it's, anxious about saying no to somebody or feeling like you're always canceling, so you're disappointed in yourself that way, you're going to be able to determine your part in that thing. So you have a part in every single process. And this is not any type of victim blaming. So please don't take it that way. I have been in several abusive relationships, so I'm the last one who would victim blame. But there is a part that you play in that environment. Either it's not standing up for yourself because of fear, picking the wrong people over and over again because you want to feel like you have to change somebody in order to feel wholeness and love. Like, there are parts that you play in all of this. If you feel like you have a tattered relationship with a family member, you play a part in that. Is it the expectation that you've placed on them to just accept you as you are, even though they never have before? Is it, having this vision of what a mom, dad, sister, brother, whatever looks like, and then expecting them to show up as that vision that you've created? Is it wanting people to see you for exactly who you are and then being frustrated when they don't, but never actually voicing that you want them to see you that way? There's a part that you're playing in all of this. And when I sat with what part of your lack of freedom are you responsible for, a lot of it was the overthinking and ruminating that goes on in my own head. And so, in order to feel freedom, I'm going to have to learn how to control my thoughts. I'm going to have to learn how to, if I want to weigh myself, to, get to a space where I can look at that number and determine what what it says and how I feel about myself right now, and then what that number might say when I actually feel comfortable in my skin. I have to determine, is the number the thing that I need to be focusing on, or is it those internal thoughts that say that number has to say a certain thing in order for me to feel good about myself? Um, and then I can't be frustrated if I'm constantly looking at the number and then living in a space of frustration about body image concerns, because the role I'm playing is to be obsessed about that number instead of being obsessed about my health. And so that's going to take some mindset shifting. That's going to take some changing in the way that I think. If I'm frustrated about the way that my relationship with it is with a family member, I have to accept that part of the reason why that relationship is tattered the way that it is because I haven't fully accepted that this person is who they are and I am who I am, and that I can't expect them to show up as anything other than who they are unless they want to seek healing and health for themselves. And so, if every time I'm in a space with them, I'm saying, oh, here they go again, not doing all the things that I've collected as, their job description and put on a list, then I'm going to be disappointed every single time. And so, to be free from that, I have to mourn the fact that I don't have that person in the capacity at which I would hope to, and that they aren't the person that I feel like I would have needed in those spaces. But I'm a grown adult and I can be those things for myself. I can have friendships with people who are all the greatest parts of those things without needing it from that person. I also have to determine whether it's me who hasn't set a boundary and whether I'm still allowing people to use me and abuse me, because my part in that process is not putting a stop to it by setting a boundary with clear expectations and clear consequences if it continues to happen. And so you have to determine your part in the process. if you are doing any of the things that I just named, or maybe your pain point is completely different, maybe you feel like you can't speak up in spaces, but instead of speaking up in spaces, you sit and ruminate on all the really good ideas and opinions that you have, and how playing a narrative of how stupid everyone's going to think that those pieces of input are, instead of just saying the thing and actually living in the moment of if that narrative actually is even being created in the first place. We all have a part in the processes of our own lives. Whatever you play in that piece is your own doing. And if we're talking about abusive relationships, as I said before, it's not that you deserve the abuse, because no one deserves abuse, but it's that you have to determine, if you're doing a dance, have you tried to change your dance step? If you're doing a dance and let's say you financially can't get out, are you thinking about ways where you could set yourself up financially to get out? I know that life because I lived that life and I know exactly what it was like. And so it's not saying that it's your fault that any of these things are happening. It's saying that what you're telling yourself you need to feel like you're enough is not going to come from that type of person. And the fact that you keep picking that type of person is the part that you're playing in this process. And my greatest abuse came from somebody who literally was the same person, different face as other people that I've dated. So I had to know that it was me looking for these type of people and not just their fault for being that way. They showed me who they were. I read their resume and I still gave them the job even though I knew that they weren't qualified to do it. So when I say what part are you playing in this, that's what I'm talking about. The part where you're telling yourself that this person who is not ready for you is going to change, and when they do, then you'll be enough. Because that's not true. And so once you've sat with your pain, you've determined what those pain points are, and you've determined your part in the dance that you're doing, now you have to develop a new habit around it. So if you go back to, me saying that when I go into spaces with people, I've created this laundry list of expectations for that person. I have to walk into that space and say, you're not going to expect anything from them. You're going to expect yourself to hold true to your boundary, and that's the only expectation you're going to have in this space. And so when I walk into a room and they're the way they've always been, then I don't get hurt by the fact that they're that way, because I've created an expectation that only I can control, which is to set the boundary. So if they start being rude, I can leave the room. And they know that I'm going to leave the room because I've had that conversation with them. If they start saying things about weight or body shaming people, I can leave the conversation. And they know I'm going to leave the conversation because I don't take part in those types of conversations. But I can't have an expectation that no one's going to walk in the room talking negatively. No one's going to play the victim when they walk in the room. No one's going to be ugly when they walk in the room, because that is not realistic for the type of dynamic that you're walking into. That new habit of changing my expectations is going to change my experience. And so now I'm free from not the person 100%, but the way that I feel as a result of what they're doing. If I develop a new habit around body image, then instead of going into a spiral of how, horrible I am for eating the ice cream, I can say it was one ice cream. At the end of the day, that ice cream maybe is 300 calories. Not that big of a deal. I'm not going to obsess over that. If I have a horrible eating day, I can do the same thing. It was just a horrible eating day. And I say horrible eating day because I know that no foods are bad food, but sometimes when you're an emotional eater or you can be a stress eater, like those things are what I'm talking about, like a horrible eating day as far as like being a stress eater or whatever it is. I can look at the scale and say, okay, that's just a number. I want to change that number because I want to feel more comfortable in my body. But right now, it's just a number. And I have the power and ability to do the things that I know to do to change that number if that is what's bothering me. And so the new habit has to be you thinking about how you handle this thing now and how you hope that this thing releases its constraints from you and what you would need to do, what role you would need to play, what new habit you would need to do in order for that to be the case. If you feel like, and I know this happens all the time, if you feel like you're an outsider in your church and you walk in and there are people who are cliquey, have you tried walking up to them and having a conversation with them? It might feel uncomfortable, but maybe they think the same thing about you that you're thinking about them, which is that you really don't like them that much, or you're standoffish and you don't really want to be a part of the community that they've created. So you have to develop a new habit. You have to change what you're doing in order to be free from what constrains you and confines you. And so, just like with that workout that I was telling you about before, nothing's going to change with that ab workout the next time I do it if I don't move the furniture. Nothing's going to change with your situation and how limiting it feels to be in it until you sit with that pain, determine what part you've taken into that pain that you're feeling, and then developing a new habit around it. Because the thing that I know for sure, and I know that you know if you've listened to me for quite some time, is that you cannot change people. You will never shift people. You can only change the way that you interact, correspond, and respond to those people. And if you feel the same way every time that happens, then it's up to you to develop a new habit because you're part of the dance. So, if in order to change the things that are constraining you, you either need to change the environment or change yourself and the habits that you've created when the environment does something to you. Because I would almost say it's close to 100% that a lot of times when environments do something to us, it's because of an expectation that we've created for the environment and an unwillingness to either change the environment or ourselves. So if you're in that space today and you need a little bit of a lift to get through the process that you're going through, absolutely DM me. I am also taking coaching clients for a very short period of time for a one-time offer. So I'm going to put that link in the description or the comments below. And if you want to reach out to me and be a part of that coaching session, I absolutely would love to have you there. I also have all of my social media accounts that talk about this in length. So, like and subscribe to those pages, follow me on there. And if you listen to this video and it was helpful for you to break free from the bondage that you're experiencing, please share these videos, not for me, but to help other people break free from the bondage that they're experiencing. Because as we know, that any type of information that we gain and keep to ourselves is selfish. But when we go out and share our testimony of how those things impacted and helped us, then we're helping other people break free from their own bondage that they're experiencing on a daily basis. And if there was anything that I would love to be able to do, it's to save the me that I was when I didn't have the people around me and the information around me when I was in the biggest throes of bondage that I could have been in. And so I hope to be that person, and I hope that you'll help me with that charge by sharing this information. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in for the rest of my videos this week on my YouTube channel. I'll see you next time.